The swirling mists of the Antari convergence parted today on Beyond the Gates to deliver an episode of profound revelation, simmering tension, and devastating personal consequence. The echo in the ashes masterfully wove together the threads of ancient prophecy, political machination, and raw emotional fallout, pushing every major character to a precipice and changing the board irrevocably. Here is your comprehensive 1900-word recap of the events of January 22, 2026. The Morningstone Cataclysm, a vision confirmed. The episode opened not in the present, but in a haunting, fractured memory. We saw Ilara Voss, played by Anya Sharma, not as the resolute archivist we know, but as a terrified young acolyte, hiding within the very catacombs of the Morningstone Monastery as the Great Silence descended 50 years prior. Her memory, unlocked by last week's psychic backlash from the first glyph, was not of demons or invaders, but of the senior archivists themselves. In a shocking twist, she witnessed the High Curator, Magister Oren, deliberately shatter the central soul lens, not as an act of defense, but of sabotage. He spoke to a hooded figure, whose face remained obscured, but whose voice was a familiar, chilling baritone, stating, "The song must be muted so the true chord can be heard later. The convergence demands a reset." This single memory recontextualizes the founding tragedy of the series. The Great Silence was not a foreign attack, it was an inside job, a sacrificial gambit by a faction within the Order itself, presumably to manipulate the timing of the current convergence. Ilara emerged from this trance-like state in the present, her hands trembling not with fear, but with furious betrayal. Armed with this revelation, Ilara confronted the current curator Valerus, played by Michael Pena, in the restored monastery's inner sanctum. Their scene was a powerhouse of restrained drama. Valerus, initially dismissive of her fever dream, grew stone-still as she recounted the specific ritual phrases and described Magister Oren's unique, serpent-shaped ring. The color drained from his face. In a quiet, world-weary voice, he confirmed the ring's authenticity and admitted he had long suspected a schism in the old order, but never dared believe its leadership was culpable. His confession, "We built our present upon the sanitized ashes of the past. To question the ashes was to question our very foundation." He tasked Ilara, unofficially, with discovering the identity of Oren's hooded accomplice and their true purpose, warning her that if this truth came to light publicly, the already fragile alliance of free cities would lose all faith in the archivist's authority. The Gilded Cage. Political maneuvers in Viridia. Meanwhile, in the gleaming spires of Viridia, Kalen, played by Leo Chen, found himself navigating a different kind of labyrinth. Paroled to house arrest within the opulent but suffocating confines of the Sunwood Palace, he was summoned to a private breakfast with Regent Lady Evandra, played by Gina Torres. This was no familial meal, but a masterclass in political theatre. Evandra, while passing plates of jewel-like fruit, laid out her terms with icy precision. Kalen's heroic actions at the Stormwall would be amplified in the city's press, crafting a narrative of a redeemed prince. In exchange, he must publicly endorse her proposal for a Viridian protectorate over the war-torn borderlands, a move that would essentially annex the region under Viridian military control. Kalen, showing newfound political acumen, did not refuse outright. Instead, he played a dangerous card. He revealed he knows about Project Dawnflower, a covert operation alluded to in stolen documents last season, hinting it is not the agricultural initiative the Regent Lady has publicly funded. Evandra's mask slipped for a microsecond, a flash of lethal surprise in her eyes, before she smoothed it into a smile. "You have your mother's eyes, and her unfortunate curiosity," she said, her tone sweetly venomous. She ended the meeting by reminding him that his companion, the refugee healer Myra, remains in a secured wing of the palace, her safety dependent on the continued stability of your situation. The threat was clear. Kalen returned to his gilded rooms not as a prince, but as a pawn who has just kicked the board, uncertain if he has gained leverage or signed a death warrant for those he cares about. Fractures in the field. Loyalty tested. The episode's most visceral and emotionally charged storyline followed Captain Rourke, played by Idris Elba, and his unit, deployed to secure a manifestation hotspot in the Bleakwood. The mission went awry immediately, as the phenomenon wasn't a rogue beast or a spatial tear, but a psychometric echo, a location replaying the intense emotions of a past tragedy, in this case, a brutal Ambrian massacre from the last convergence. Soldiers began experiencing shared hallucinations, attacking phantom foes and, in one heartbreaking case, a private turning his weapon on a comrade he swore had transformed into an Ambrian child soldier. In the chaos, Rourke was forced to make a split-second decision to save the majority of his squad, an action that left 2 men, Private Vance and Corporal Dye, trapped behind a crystallized emotional barrier. The scene where Rourke, through the shimmering, grief-filled wall, locked eyes with Dye, who calmly nodded in understanding before the barrier solidified completely, was a masterpiece of silent acting. Back at camp, a grief-stricken and furious Lieutenant Chavis, played by Letitia Wright, openly accused Rourke of sacrificing the men because Dye had been openly critical of Rourke's command after the loss of their former medic, Lyra. The confrontation laid bare the unit's deep fractures. Rourke, bearing the weight of the decision, did not defend himself. He simply stated, "The echo preyed on our fears and our guilt. It showed me my own. Their fate is on my soul, Lieutenant. But my order stands. We quarantine this zone and report it as a Class 10 empathic hazard. No retrieval attempts. The unit is now broken, not by monsters, but by trauma and mistrust." In a welcome return to the street-level grit of Halden's lower wards, Tara, played by Megan Lee, and Silas, played by Oscar Isaac, pursued the source of the corrupted glowstone that nearly killed a community of squatters. Their investigation led them to a dilapidated charterhouse, fronting as a relic dealership. A thrilling, mostly silent cat-and-mouse sequence through dusty shelves and hidden passages culminated in a confrontation not with a monster, but with an impeccably dressed, sinisterly polite functionary from the Cartographers Guild, Mr. Halvern, played by Matthew Good. Halvern, sipping tea amidst the chaos, confessed to the unfortunate side effects of their geomagnetic resonance mining. He explained, with chilling bureaucratic detachment, that the Guild is not stealing artifacts, but harvesting latent dimensional energy from key nodes across the city to power a stabilization matrix. When Tara accused him of poisoning people, he countered, a temporary displacement. The matrix, once active, will secure reality itself for the privileged zones. Some demographic adjustment in the outlier districts is a regrettable but necessary statistical eventuality. He then offered them a deal, silence in exchange for coordinates to clean nodes in rival territories, essentially making them accomplices. Before they could respond,